To note, it's MVP favorite Lamar Jackson. He is second event. But we're going to concentrate on the abusing situation. Now, this may take work with therapists, and that is my advice, to work with a therapist to work out the situation. It's been a weird process for me to work through the mental abuse or grooming of the priest. Now, when I start to not feel good, just recently, as a week ago or a little longer, I try to forgive the person. I know this works for me, and it may not work for you, but I would recommend you try it. Your work on forgiveness and happens. First of all, good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam's Sports Report and Sam's Mental Health Day. So we have spent a lot of time on helmets on the NFL last week. While that is a good topic, I wanted to get through this one, and I know you can talk about this at any time, but I've decided to do it this time would be good. What people do with PTSD and mental health and death and traumatic events is all kind of on the same line. Today we're going to spend healing in a toxic world is what it's called, but it's also healing from abuse is the key topic. And we'll start with that. I was sexually groomed by a priest. You may know this from some of my podcasts. We'll call him Father Wilson. In this episode, this is how we'll start. PTSD is a post-traumatic stress, which I put into a post-traumatic situation that happens in your life, worsens because of a situation. Now, here's what I know. Others may say, well, that was a long time ago. Just get over it. It was 15 years ago. Well, just get over it. Well, people get over different things at different times in their life. And also, people go through a different process for every abuse, death, or whatever, or traumatic event. They go through a process. And no process is going to be the same for any individual, and it is based on the relationship you have with that person. First of all, in many experiences, you don't just get over it. It takes time and work and a process. You may still not, quote, get over it ever. And there's no timetable for this. Death, abuse, coping with it, and traumatic events. There's no timetable to get over them or to process them. Here's what you want to do to forgive that person or death or traumatic event. But we're going to concentrate on the abusing situation. Now, this may take work with therapists, and that is my advice, to work with a therapist to work out the situation. It's been a weird process for me to work through the mental abuse or grooming of the priest. Now, when I start to not feel good, just recently, as a week ago or a little longer, I try to forgive the person. I know this works for me, and it may not work for you, but I would recommend you try it. Your work on forgiveness, and again, we just don't get over a quote. Here's what happens. First of all, it really hurts people when people say just get over it. It's a developmental process, and it is a lifetime process. I decided to forgive him, not forget it. Now we move on, work out the traumatic event, and once again, to this process everything we've talked about. At times, you can also strengthen the thought of the traumatic events. And if you can think about the future once again, that will help. That's not easy, a situation you will work out to yourself to think about what the future and what is going on at that time and what I can do from that process. This has already happened. I'm not going to change that, but I have to use the best appropriate coping skills. So, what's my message? Here, life is a process, and things you go through are a process. At this time, I just want you listening to some of the music before we get in at the end, but I also want you to listen to this on this video. Also, what we showed is willing to forgive somebody for abuse. What does that do for you? It cools your mind. And forgiving somebody for abuse is not for them, it's for you. Let's listen.
In almost every relationship that is abusive, the abuser convinces the other partner that the abuse is their fault, that they deserve the abuse, that they're worthless, and often that the abuser is the greatest thing that will ever happen to that person. And it's so important after getting out of an abusive relationship to really connect with loving people who can show you the value and love and respect you deserve. And if that's not available, or even if it is, it's equally important to show yourself that love and respect you deserve, because you are your constant companion. And it is so vital that you feel, even if it's from yourself, that love and care you deserve. And so what that looks like is allowing yourself to heal and process from the trauma that you've gone through. And that can look like yoga, meditation, a spa day, eating a wonderful diet that nourishes your mind and body, and listening to your heart and really giving yourself the gentleness that you've been missing. Don't rush yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just allow that process to be without putting pressure on yourself, without adding expectation or judgment to the healing process. There may be good days, there may be bad days, there may be triggering moments where you lash out at someone or yourself. And it is okay to forgive yourself. You don't have to have been in war to have PTSD. We all have some type of trauma in our lives. And if we don't get the love and care that we need to heal from that, then that trauma stays with us. There are many ways to release that trauma. Exercise is one of these ways we burn off that adrenaline that is in our body. And one of the most profound practices is the power of mindfulness, the ability to control our focus and attention to where we wish to direct our focus and attention, to recognize that we have the ability to focus on what we want to focus on. And this is the ultimate practice of letting go. And we can train this in meditation. We can train this in simply focusing on whatever we're doing in our lives, whether it's walking, eating, or driving a car.